What's up, you guys? So I have a few various questions that I wanted to answer. So I guess this is an impromptu little short Q&A. Had some questions posted to another video that I had done, so I wanted to just answer these real quick. How many years should you expect to train to be able to compete in figure? So this question doesn't really have a definitive answer because everybody is at a different stage in their own physique and journey. For myself, honestly, I've been lifting seriously and more heavy and kind of knowing what I'm doing for almost 4 years now. I think that I had been lifting for about a year or so, focusing more on like heavy lifting, not 5-pound dumbbell curls, not body weight squats. And I had been doing that probably for about a year and a half. And then I decided to compete. I decided in January that I was gonna compete. That was 2 years ago. And I competed in December of that same year. So really, it was a few years of good training. But there are also some people that are just physically almost ready. I feel like people that are athletes in high school or athletes in college, they already have an athletic physique. They already know the work ethic that it takes and the dedication, or they already eat pretty decently, how to change your intake for your body in order to cut fat or lose weight, which is part of the purpose of competing. You know, some people I've seen that have never competed, they train for about 6 months and do a prep and compete. So a lot of it just depends on your physique and where you're at, and I want to emphasize mentally where you're at. Some people should never ever compete. I'll post a link to an article below that I found on Facebook this week that really spoke to me and kind of solidified my own thoughts as to why I have decided not to compete for the foreseeable future. So as far as that question goes, it depends. What made you go right into intuitive eating? Was it just the weekend off ended up into a week off, and so forth? I've been knowing that I want to intuitively eat for a while now, which is just a fancy way of putting having a healthy relationship with food and listening to your body, and not just eating mindlessly. But as one that has struggled with binge eating in the past and serious restriction, terrible relationships with food, it's hard to go out of that mindset and go into just listen to your body. You can't really take someone that has spent their life dieting and restricting and tell them, just listen to your body, you'll know when to stop. Don't. So it took me tracking my intake for a few years, and I was able to see that I can eat foods in moderation and they won't make you fat. It's consistently going overboard and not getting the right things in, knowing what your body works best off of. So I prefer higher carbs, lower fats. That's just how I've always enjoyed food. I've always liked carbs. So taking that time to really learn that I don't need to be afraid of food has been crucial for me. But I knew that after this show, I did want to reverse diet out because coming off of a show prep, my calories were low and I was restricted. I was in starvation mode. That's what contest prep is, sadly enough. And so I didn't want to go just right into intuitive eating because I know I'd be going from like low calories to taking in a bunch of food because I'm just hungry. So I took the time, reverse dieted out, slowly added calories back in, and got to a point where I felt I was at a healthy mindset. And I said, I'm just gonna not track. And it took one day. And honestly, after that day, I felt so much more free. And so it was just the little push that I needed to get started into intuitive eating. It wasn't like a thing where, you know, I fell off the bandwagon and then that just spiraled into this. It's not the same as falling off the diet wagon. Like, you have this fear of not tracking, and then you take that leap of faith and say, I know that I can do this. I trust my body, I trust my mind, I trust my confidence in myself and my relationship with food, that I will not eat everything in sight, because essentially I've practiced it. I've been doing it for 2 years, 3 years, 4, I don't know. But, you know, having that practice and knowledge under my belt now just helped me get that kick that I needed, started intuitively eating, and then once I realized that I felt so much more free and, you know, able to basically track without even having to touch my phone or crunch any numbers, it gave me the confidence that I needed to continue on. And I've tried tracking for like 2 days. I think I did breakfast and lunch, and then I was like, I'm good. I don't want it, because I don't see the need for it right now. If I were to do like another prep or do a photo shoot or something like that, which I might be doing a photo shoot sometime in the near future, then I'll have to track my macros, because you do have to get more specific if you do have a certain physique goal. But it's not something that is what I push for long term. Even with my clients, I tell them, you know, this is basically a means to an end. Like, it's a method that we're going to use to get your mind right and, you know, help you overcome that fear of a freaking cookie in your diet. And then once we get where we need to be, start transitioning into intuitive eating. I'm competing in my first figure competition, and the cardio is kicking my butt. How much did you do? How did you handle it? I love training, and I used to love cardio, but then I started prep. So this one, again, like the first question, it's so dependent on where you're at physically, where your routine was at before you even started prep. So say wherever you start your prep, you're going to essentially have to continue decreasing calories and increasing cardio in order to keep losing body fat. Our bodies are amazing at what they can adapt to. So they're basically, whenever we put them in a starvation state, they're going to adapt to survive. Because if not, we would just keep losing body fat till we whittled away to nothing. So they have to adapt to survive. So once you take, say your caloric intake starts at, God forbid, 1800 whenever you start a prep, which is a very common thing for women. 1800, you're gonna have to cut down to, say, about 1500. Well, your body's gonna take a few weeks, it's gonna lose some fat, and then it's gonna think, okay, well, if we're gonna be here for a while, we need to reserve some energy, we need to reserve for fat to be able to survive. So then you plateau. Once you plateau, you have to decrease again. So your calories go from 1500 to 1200. And this is just, I'm just throwing things out there. Please do not use this as your prep. It's going to continually adapt and to survive. Same thing with cardio. Say you start out, typical amount of cardio for a woman these days, probably about 4 to 5 days. Oddly enough. I know a lot of women that'll come to me and they say they're doing like 20 to 30 minutes of cardio 4 or 5 days a week. Can I do a show? I tell them honestly, no, you should not do a show right now. You need to take some time, basically diet out of your diet, add calories, add cardio, reevaluate. So say if you start out your show prep, let's go on the low end, 3 days of cardio, 30 minutes a day. Whenever you hit that plateau, you're going to have to increase, because your body's going to adapt. If it thinks it's a normal thing day to day, it's going to try to adapt as much as it can to reserve energy and reserve fat for the future. So with that said, a lot of coaches, first thing they do is throw cardio at you because it's quick fix, but it's not sustainable. And I have a video about the extremes in the fitness industry, and it's solely talking about contest prep. I'll link it below too. But for my first show, tons of cardio, tons. That's what we first added in, and we kept building from there. So we started out with a lot of cardio, and we had to keep adding. For this second show, I only ended at, I want to say 3 or 4 days of hit sprints, 8 sprints each, so 15-second sprint, rest, 15-second sprint, rest. I think sometimes it was 20 seconds, just depending on the day, for 8 sprints. So 3 or 4 sessions of those a week. And then towards the end, I was doing 25 minutes on the Stairmaster. So maximum 5 days of cardio, but probably around 20 minutes each session. but I had also taken the last year to reduce my cardio and increase my calories. So I had a really good starting point, and that's so crucial, is that off season. Give yourself and give your body enough time to diet out of your diet. You can't just go create one extreme to the next and taking in, 1,200 calories, 7 days of cardio, and then jump back up to 2,000 calories and no cardio. Your body's going to go crazy. Your hormones are going to be all out of balance. It's going to take on as much fat as it can because it thinks that you've been starving it for so long. So take time, look up reverse dieting, reverse diet out of that prep, and reevaluate. If you come out of a show and you're mentally exhausted, if your mentality towards your body is worse than when it started, please do not compete again. I cannot stress this enough. Again, read that article in the link below. I think it'll kind of help put things into perspective. Competing is such a touchy topic for so many people, and I've seen it break so many wonderful fitness enthusiasts because of the crazy mentalities and the extremes that some people put their competitors through. So how did I handle the cardio? First time around, it was awful. I didn't handle it well. I struggled big time after the show mentally. And I had the mindset, just grind it out, just grind it out. You can only do that for so long. So even if you're not at your show yet and you're already worried, always talk with your coach, be honest with them, reach out to other competitors who you feel might have been through the same thing, see their thoughts on it. I'm always happy to chat, so feel free to email me, guys, or I'm on Snapchat. I like doing little Q&A sessions on there, so reach out to me on there if you do have any questions about my thoughts towards competing. There was one more question, but I'm going to need Matt here to answer it, and he's at work, so I'm going to have to wait till he gets home, but it's regarding us and children, so stay tuned.